What's going on, boys? Today we're talking a little about demon functions. Now, your demon function is your eighth function. Your demon function is the counterpart of your inferior function, your weakest function, and it is the polar opposite of your dominant function. Unlike your blind spot function, your seventh function, your demon function, you'll know you have no access to. Oftentimes, you'll have an acute awareness you have no access to this function, and you can plan around it. Now, there are only a few times in your life you will access your demon function, or it will access you. Now, there are two specific types which always claim they have access to their shadow or demon functions. I don't think that's the case, and you can watch my Sakanorva video for information on why I think that's the case. And I say that because confronting your demon function or being confronted by it is traumatizing. It's crushing. It feels like, for a moment, accessing and understanding an entire spectrum of reality not normally accessible to you. Each and every function is important to life, and you'll see people discuss functions you don't have, and maybe you can better see or even relate to some of your higher shadow functions, but you'll see people discuss your demon function, you'll have no access to it, and the more you think about it, the more you'll probably feel a level of disgust for it. And you'll feel that disgust, one, because you don't understand it. You have no internal understanding of how it works, and it will oppose your dominant function. It's something different in a threatening way, a way you're going to have to address, and you have no understanding of it. Now, normally, your dominant function and your demon function, or people with it, are going to whack each other over the head with rubber chickens or shoot each other to death, and that's competing with your demon function, but that isn't confronting it or being confronted by it. Getting a real taste of your demon function is disturbing, not only because you're seeing something that opposed to you, but you're also understanding its importance in that moment. And the fact you have no access to it, and it's that important. That's the most disturbing part. This thing I'm fundamentally opposed to is equally as important as what's integral to my being. However, they are at odds. It took this much to get a taste of how your demon function operates. Just a taste. Meaning there is always going to be conflict between them, your dominant and your demon, even though they are equally important. There is no grand way, at least right now, to mediate that conflict. It's always going to be there. It's crushing. Maybe it's just crushing because I'm an FE type, and FE types are superior, obviously. But to explain the disturbingness of it, we'll go through my experience with FI. Now, for TI users, we're interested in calling things as we see them and trying to make things line up. An ITP sees someone without legs say they want to go hiking, and the ITP says, it's going to be hard to go hiking when you don't have legs. An EFJ, on the other hand, might ask that person questions about their experiences hiking and start working on solutions to get them hiking. However, both the ITP and the EFJ are addressing the fact this person has no legs and they want to go hiking. what comes out of our mouths will differ, but we're thinking the same things because we're TI types. An FI type, on the other hand, is going to attack the person without legs because having no legs offends them, or they're going to praise the idea of walking without legs because it's inspiring. I'm exaggerating here for effect, but from the TI perspective, FI types, including ETJs, will say one thing and do another without ever addressing the contradiction or even thinking to at all. Now, while I was trying to learn about INTJs, I met an INTJ who metaphorically didn't have legs. And because this was years ago and I hadn't integrated FJ strategies into real life, I came out and said right off the bat, how are you going to hike this mountain when you have no legs? And I didn't mean that as an offense. In my head, I was playing with a toy train set and trying to lay all the tracks correctly so this thing could happen. But the INTJ, the legless INTJ, took it as an offense because their not having legs was integral to their identity, yet it did not limit them in any way, at least from their perspective. And from their perspective, I was aggressively limiting, not addressing. And then I got mad because why are you snapping at me while I'm trying to figure this out? But my next course of action was to swap tracks to the Carnegie School. Ask questions. Get them talking. Use their questions and their conversation, their endless explanations, to divert. Not because I'm trying to be helpful, now anyway, or to make them happy or to fit in, but because I'm trying to figure out what just happened. And the conversation goes on for about 2 hours, and the INTJ keeps beating me over the head with crutches, because remember, the INTJ still doesn't have legs. And I'm still refusing not to address that fact, and I'm thinking, this fucker doesn't have a leg to stand on. But then it finally hits me. The importance of the FI perspective, and a shortcoming of the FE, especially inferior FE, perspective. At no point did I put myself in this person's shoes, because from my perspective, they don't have shoes. They don't even have legs. All they are is a pile of information and statistics that can react to things. And I'm basing my entire image of this person based on my ability to interpret those statistics and react to their reactions. At no point does the person's history or individuality, who they are, mean anything to me, unless any of that stuff needs to. Either because it's interesting, or their negative reactions are preventing me from getting the information I want from them. Which is what was happening. That 2 hours, I still was not giving a shit about this individual's, this INTJ's, identity. I'm asking them questions about their identity, and I'm getting them to talk about their identity, so I can figure out what happened, not because I'm interested in that identity. And toward the end of the conversation, that's what hit me. The fact I was doing that. Not caring about this aspect of them that was so important to them. I came in with the perspective, you have no legs. That's not a problem. That's not a bad thing. but it is what it is. Let's address it and then move on from there instead of getting bogged down in it. Or a comedian's way of putting it, I have diabetes. I might lose a toe. I'm a victim. But what I'm trying to do, and the "but what I'm trying to do" part, is the TI perspective. Address something an FI type would consider important to their identity, and then move on because there are other things to figure out. Versus the FI perspective, or in this case this INTJ's perspective, having no legs is an important, or maybe the most important, part of their identity. They can spend their entire lives fixating on this one thing and fleshing it out and exploring it in all these different ways. A TI type would address and then move on from. I think between TI and FI there is a distinction or a divide. A TI type would call something circumstance, and FI type would call it identity. A TI type figures out generally what it is, or specifically if they're interested, then tries to fit that piece of data among all the other pieces of data. An FI type takes that one piece of data as a rabbit hole to go down forever and then never come out. Maybe it's the hole they stick their heads up. Who knows? But back to my example, it finally dawned on me how important this aspect of this person's identity was, and how dismissive I was being of it in my attempt to understand it. Now, from my perspective, I was doing the right thing because, to me, addressing something directly is the nicest thing anyone can do. Separating who you are from what you are is a sign of respect. But from the INTJ's perspective, separating who you are from what you are is the greatest offense, because to them, who you are and what you are the same thing. They're combined. And it hit me how my attempt to show the highest level of respect was, to them, the highest degree of offense. And it made me cry really bad at the time, because one, how could I be stupid enough not to have understood that before? Because I'd seen that my entire life, but at no point had that connection been made, that contact, that genuine contact with the demon function. Two, that my intentions were misinterpreted that way through no fault of either of ours, because there is an innate ocean of difference between the ways of looking at things. Three, there's no real way to mediate it, because if it took that long for me to get a glimpse of what FI types are talking about, I'm not going to be on that level of perception 24/7, and there's no way the person I'm accommodating will be, if ever. And four, that conflict is going to keep on going forever, because in my natural state, you still got no legs. If I sacrifice my ability even to notice you have no legs, then I can't operate normally with any efficiency. I can't figure shit out. And if an FI type sacrifices their interest in their having no legs, they're not going to be able to be as abrasive to people who are dismissive of people without legs, mostly other FI types, or empathetic to other people without legs. They're not going to be invested in and aggressive about leglessness enough to defend themselves and others and make good things happen. I say you aren't walking without legs. They say I am walking without legs. But what they mean is the mindset of I am walking without legs can make useful things happen. Now, that's not what they're saying. That might not even be what they're thinking, but that appears to be what the function of it is. And it can make good things happen, but it seems like it can make a whole lot of bad things happen if anything goes wrong, because you're starting from unstable footing you weren't addressing. But what do I know? Different strokes for different folks. That entire experience was debilitating for a few hours and left me sobbing, as I said, because it is important, it is valuable, and from their perspective, I'm the bad guy. The same way my trying to figure things out is valuable, and they're the bad guys, and they're both simultaneously true and untrue, with no way to mediate or figure them out cleanly. Someone is stuck getting hurt, and there is nothing you can do about it. From your side, you're right. From their side, they're right. You're both right from your perspectives in inarguable ways, in ways you both need to be, and you're both stuck fighting these perspective-based battles to prop up the continuation of humanity. It's a crushing existence that needs to exist, and that's probably why they're called demon functions, because accessing them in that way and realizing what's going on is destructive to yourself. Realizing that to a significant portion of the population, you are the bad guy, even though you're trying to be the good guy, and there is no way to fix that. The same way they're bad guys to you, good guys to themselves, no way to fix that. Opposing functions, both required. No access, no real access to each other. It's damaging. And at the end of it, you're left wondering, if I go about my life the way I'm used to going about it, am I hurting people? Yes. Yes, you are. However, if you don't, other people from opposing viewpoints are going to hurt you, disrespect you, oppress you, because they don't care about what you think the same way you don't care about what they think. You're forced into conflict with people you've realized aren't really evil. Even if everyone in the world made that realization, which is one of the reasons I think MBTI exists, the realities of our perspectives are going to make bridging that divide impossible, because it's cognitive. It's not even cultural or regional. This is person-to-person shit. To bridge that divide in any meaningful way, everyone in the world has to be on the same page, and they have to be good-willed. That's not going to happen. Which, again, is the reason I think demon function is the perfect name for demon functions. Accessing them, the few times it'll happen in your life, is disturbing, and it changes the way you look at the world. You don't have a developed demon function. It takes most of people's lives to get a strong handle of their inferior functions. If you were walking around that plugged into your demon function 24/7, you'd be a non-functional wreck of a human being. You'd have no sense of place, you'd have no sense of self, you couldn't even begin to trust any of your thoughts or actions, because you would be constantly at odds with yourself in crippling ways, unable to take action, and frankly, your nemesis function, your first shadow function, if you're going to master or even access any shadow functions at all, your nemesis function is going to be the one. Your nemesis function causes enough contradictions and schizophrenia in your life as it is. INFPs want to come off as nice. They aren't. INTPs want to come off as successful. They aren't. ENTJs want to come off as smart. They aren't. I don't have enough information to say exactly what ENFJs want to come off as and how they fail at it, but I'm looking forward to letting you know. If your nemesis function can run you that ragged and probably will be responsible for your downfall, you are not plugged into your demon function. Again, a few times that'll happen your entire life, and each time it happens will be crushing, with life-altering side effects. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. We are making progress. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. Have you had one of these crippling experiences with your demon function? What's your type? What happened? What did you realize? What changed? I am curious about this one. But thanks again for watching, everybody. Really, we had a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can put it in a 200 milligram tablet designed for calmness and relaxation, and take it every now and then, because our fun is fun and relaxing. And that's so much fun we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.